Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee on the 12th of September. It's 9:12 in the morning. Today's going to be a very rough day for us here in Israel. Prayers are appreciated for the weather. 98 is the high, but it drops to 71 at night, so it's going to cool off fast, which is rather unusual. Because when you start getting these high temperatures, you get lows at night of 79, 80, it's pretty unusual. And the tomorrow we go down to 94, so it's just a one day. Saturday the high is 89, Sunday 90, Monday 88, then 88 again, then 89, then 87, 88, 87. So it looks like, God willing, will break. The nice thing is when the highs are no more than about 84, 85 maximum. I prefer like 83 highs. I can leave the dogs outside in the morning when I do the broadcast, and they kind of like being outside. Just gotta leave water for them, and there's plenty of shade out there. Okay, so what I'm gonna do today is big, okay, huge. All right, I've been praying to the Lord off and on to show me what's going to happen, what the nations are up to, what the nations are trying to do, what's really going to happen, when it's going to happen, and things like this. I'm not asking him for the day and the hour of the appearing of Yeshua. I'm asking him what the nations are doing, and how Jeremiah 30 verse 11 is going to get fulfilled, and when, and so forth. Well, I got up this morning and boom, everything just came to me. Okay, it just hit me. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is explain to you what the nations, the nations in general, but with an emphasis on China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, and America, and NATO to some extent, and Ukraine, what they're really doing, what's really happening, basically with China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, what they're really up to, what's going on for real, what they're really trying to do. Okay? And when I explain it to you, you'll really understand it. It's not going to be, oh, where did he get that from? No. This is going to be round pegs and round holes, square pegs and square holes. You're going to see it, and it's just going to say, oh, wow, why didn't I see this or something? I didn't see it either till this morning. The Lord showed it to me. Now, I'm not prophesying. I mean, someone might say I'm prophesying, but what I'm really doing is interpreting what the nations are really up to, and you'll see it plain as day. It's about BRICS. And BRICS has the next summit meeting on October 22nd to the 24th, and they plan on introducing or starting their new digital currency. And there's 159 nations that want to use this. And apparently, as I'll explain and show to you, there is not a need to be a BRICS member per se to use it. You gotta get their permission to use it, of course. They're going to expand BRICS to private companies, retailers. It's unbelievable. And we're going to discuss the cutting of the internet cables, because Russia's been seen around these internet cables many times recently with their ships. Now you can blow the cables up, you can cut them, there's all sorts of stuff you could do. The cables are in the ocean, but they put them in places usually where it's not that deep. But all they got to do is to cut the cables is go near the landmass, where the cable obviously has to go to landmass, to get to the countries, and it's usually in relatively shallow water, maybe at the most 300 feet, So how hard would it be to, lower some type of bomb, like a depth charge, just to be simplistic down there, get it by the cable and blow it up, or, maybe put, 5 or 6 cables around there and then blow it up in different places and stuff like that. They could use timers. They could set the depth charge, go 5 miles away or 10 miles away or 30 miles away, and do it again and again and again, and have a 6-8 hour charge timer on the depth charges. It's easy. The Yemen Houthis in Yemen cut the cables near Sudan a few months ago. They only cut 4, and it affected Asia and Africa. So most Americans and Europeans are not aware of this, but it's rather well documented. They did do it. And I think you're going to see Yemen cut all the cables, and I think you're going to see Russia cut some cables, most likely transatlantic, but maybe in the Black Sea, the Baltic, all the above. Will China and North Korea cut cables? This, I don't know. Probably, but they don't have to. The damage will be really significant. And that'll disable the SWIFT system, which uses the internet cables. But we're going to get into this. I'm going to develop it. And then I'm going to tie it to you with Bible prophecy in Isaiah 47. And then you decide for yourself if you see a match. I'm sure you will. Okay? And this will cause the massive devaluation of the US dollar when this happens fairly immediately. I'm not talking 12% or 18%. We're talking about consumer prices maybe doubling and tripling, and more even. And we're talking about food shortages because they're making moves to have Algeria close the Straits of Gibraltar, which connects the Atlantic and the Mediterranean. The Turkey, who's decided to join BRICS, can shut the Bosphorus Straits to the countries that are not friendly to BRICS. And Yemen will continue with the Red Sea area, and they are trying to get Egypt to come in, which probably will happen, and Egypt will close the Suez Canal to unfriendly the BRICS traffic, the ones that are not BRIC friends. NATO and America are most likely not going to get into BRICS, nor will they apply except except Turkey. Will they throw Turkey out of NATO? Who knows? Does it matter? No. Doesn't matter. And this is going to go down October 22nd to the 24th. Now, what they're going to do, and I'm just giving you the touching on it. What they're going to do is they're going to use a digital currency, and they're going to have it backed by a basket of goods, not just gold. So, Russia would want it backed by oil and natural gas reserves, and some countries would want it backed with wheat. Others might want it backed with, other kinds of commodity food items and so forth. I don't know how they've finished that up, how they'll do it, but it's going to be a pledge of so many assets. Now, they're eventually going to try to work themselves to gold on deposit in the bank, the BRICS bank in Russia, and the other one in Beijing, China. But they're not, I don't believe they're there yet. And then I'm going to show you what the nations are really up to now with North and South Korea, China, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, Iran, and her proxies against Israel. We're going to open that up for you. And you're going to see, it's just going to be, you're going to say, oh gosh, why didn't I see that? All the pieces are going to fall into place for you. Okay? All right. Now, um, that being said, I'm going to take a brief moment to go into the chat. I almost said live stream, and put up a couple of posts and make sure we have sound and picture. Okay, we got sound and picture. Um, I did not get this from any other person on the internet or elsewhere. I believe this came from the Lord. I don't have any doubts about it. I'm not good enough to figure this out, and you will see it when I explain it to you. You will understand that this is really, all the pieces are going to fit together what's going on. You'll see it. Okay, I'm going to put a couple of quick posts up in the chat, very quick. And I got to put my email address up there for people that want to email in prayer requests or questions or whatever. Now you can put questions and prayer requests and toss requests up in the chat as well. I do check the chat and I do check email during the broadcast. So I'll just get my email address up and then we'll get going. You're going to like this broadcast. You're going to see it, you're going to have the oohs and the ahs, and you're going to see it makes so much sense. Okay, that's done. Being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise. If you join in or you don't, I have no control. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. What we're going to start with is I'm going to explain BRICS to you, what they're doing, who's joining BRICS, and all this stuff. Then we'll expand from there. Okay, BRICS has a number of members right now. It's basically, I think, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But I'm going to be referring to my notes. But it did expand, and they're going to expand again on their meeting October 22nd to October 24th, which is really not very far off, is it? Now there's other countries that are in. Curiously, India and China have their own alternative payment systems where they try to use the local currency. And Russia has one essentially also where they use rubles, but I think it's through BRICS. And their new payment systems going to integrate these China, India, Russia payment systems into BRIC too. China, India have had, and Russia have had theirs for some time. I'm trying to look for my notes. They brought in a bunch of new members already in the past. I think they went up to, they were up to 9 members or 10 or something. Let me go to get the list of the members. So just take a second. I believe so. Now you have Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, the UAE. So you've got it 6, 7, 8. Yeah, they're up to 9. Okay, Egypt does have some oil for sure. I believe Ethiopia does, and the UAE does, and Russia and Iran have tons of it. Okay. The big players here in the greater scheme of things, as America would see it and NATO would see it, is basically Iran and Russia, because they've got natural gas and oil. The other countries are, for the most part, consumers. China is very big, as is India, very big, but they're consumers of energy. They don't have energy. So they're not that key. UAE is, of course, a supplier of energy, but they're not that key either because they're not all that big. They're big enough, but okay. Saudi Arabia is probably going to go into BRICS. Saudi Arabia, perhaps 2 months ago now, said they were not selling oil for US dollars or euros. So that's a sign they're going in. I mean, come on, let's get real. Okay? So they're going to probably base their digital currency on gold and oil. They're not going to require people to post oil and wheat and gold or whatever into their banks at this point. They're going to have a basket of what they call commodities that they can use that's valued accordingly, and it sets the value of, I don't know what you call it, the brick dollar or whatever you want to call it, the brick currency. So this digital currency is going to be backed by something. Bitcoin is backed by nothing, and those type of things. They're backed by zero. Now, let me just start putting the pieces together for you. Many of you know Trump has started a digital currency platform, and he's saying it's going to be the best in the world, and they're going to make America the kingpin. Now, why would Trump all of a sudden come up with his own digital currency? It's not operating. I think he's doing this so then when he becomes president, in his mind, he can get people to use this digital currency system. But it's going to be the same garbage that America does. See, what America does is the SWIFT system is your international wire system, okay? When you send money from somebody in California to Florida, it doesn't use SWIFT. It uses electronic funds transfer, EFT, and it's instant. Okay, it's a bank-to-bank transfer system. I think it works with some Canadian banks, maybe Mexican or Caribbean banks as well, to some extent. Okay, they have another system called IBAN, which is predominantly for Europe. So when somebody in Switzerland wants to send, or let's say, let's say Germany wants to send money to an entity in France, they use the IBAN system, okay? So the IBAN system is a much lesser, severely much less significant system. And when it's working within Europe, it's not using internet cables, obviously. What's the point of it? And when the American electronic funds transfer system is working inside America or with Canada or possibly Mexico, why would it need the internet cables? Well, they might use the internet cables within the country, but they're not going to be cut because they're not working in the ocean. So if they take out some of the cables, they're not going to knock out every aspect of the internet. For instance, you in America will still have internet inside America. You won't be able to access any websites outside of America. You won't be able to send or receive email from outside of America. You won't get news from outside of America. But you will be able to get American internet. Likely your Netflix and your Prime and all of that stuff will work. Um, this type of thing, all right? So, what would Putin, since he's the one, predominantly setting this transfer system up, would he use internet cables also? Well, he's not that stupid. Remember, the Russians are great chess players. The Chinese don't do so bad either. Americans, sometimes they come up with something. But the Chinese and the Russians are pretty smart people in their own way. So, are they dumb enough to set up this new system using, cables in the ocean, which would, likely be cut if the other cables were cut? I don't think so. So how could they do it? Well, they might use something like cell phone type network or something like radio transmissions, what they call satellites, which are really balloons up there. But that's another story. They might use that. Probably going to use a wireless system. They're not that stupid. I don't think they are. Maybe they are. Maybe they won't cut the SWIFT cables and just use BRICS. It may not be necessary. You know what I mean? So maybe they are using under the ocean cables, and they don't care about it. Or maybe they're just using cables over oceans, but that's rather not over oceans, but that's a little bit impossible to imagine, but it could be, I don't know. But he's going to make sure he's protected and doesn't fall into the same trap that he's going to lay on the world. Okay? So there's going to be new BRIC members probably at the summit. I think Ethiopia wants to join. We know Turkey does. Several countries, I don't think they're going to put in, 40 or 50 countries. But they don't have to. All they have to do is let other countries use the system. Now, I'm rather sure that Putin and China's plans are to keep the BRICS members rather down, and these other people will be guests or affiliate members or something, not real BRIC members that are allowed to use the money transfer system. But I believe Putin will, and China, in their minds, eventually down the road, they'll make all the BRIC members form something like a BRICS copycat of NATO. And every country will have to pledge a certain amount of troops, ships, planes, missiles, and so forth. So they're not going to take people into BRICS that don't have any real capability unless they're strategically located. like Algeria, who can close the Straits of Gibraltar with basically artillery, short-range missiles, easy as pie, and stop unfriendly to BRICS ships, which is everybody that's not using the BRICS system, from going in and out of the Mediterranean to the Atlantic and vice versa, which would cripple Europe. I mean, really cripple it. Egypt could probably be easily persuaded to shut the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal is located where the Red Sea meets the Mediterranean. The Houthis are, messed up what they're doing with the Red Sea. They're attacking too many people in too many countries. It's too widespread, and they're not doing it with any intelligence. Egypt would probably do it more intelligently. So if you want to traverse from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean or vice versa, you have to be a friend of BRICS or a member of BRICS. Or the Egyptian military just won't let you in. Now, the Egyptian military is nothing like the Yemen military. They've got a navy to speak of. They've got aircraft to speak of. They got missiles, tanks. It'd be very easy for them to close the Suez Canal, and it would be a massive undertaking to start bombing Egypt, although it could happen. Massive undertaking. And I doubt they're going to want to do that. Egypt is no Yemen. Egypt is way, way, way more powerful than Yemen. The demand for the US dollar will plummet. If, and I said if, Putin has this ready to go October 22nd, which he might, and indications in the media seem to think it is ready to go. I mean, it's not that hard to set up digital currency. Trump did it, and he's not a country. So, of course, Putin, China, Iran, and all these characters could do it, easily. They got, 150 times the resources of Trump, or 500 times. It's not hard. Now, on October 22nd, they might announce it's good to go, or Putin might just announce the details and come up with, in another 2 weeks or a month or something, it'll be in effect. I don't know. Indications from the media and people talking is it's good to go in October, which is, 6 weeks away or something like that, 7 weeks. These sanctions that America imposes on countries will have no applicability in this new monetary system. So America can put all the sanctions they want on countries and they'll laugh at them. if you're a lousy country that they don't want, like, I don't know, Nigeria or something like that, then the sanctions would work. Trump started the sanctions, and he got America into this mess that Biden ran with when he got in. So let's not go off on a, Trump is another Cyrus, a savior. That's a joke. Trump is one of them. But I'm not here to take apart Trump. Would Trump be better for Israel? Maybe not, maybe yes. He always wanted a two-state solution for us, which would be the death of Israel, giving the West Bank back. It would turn into another Gaza, only 5 times or 10 times more powerful. So I wouldn't go too heavy on Trump. Would Trump be able to make the American economy better? All things being equal, for sure, but the mess that he's going to be inheriting from Biden with this BRICS thing is insurmountable. There's no workaround. Does the American government, the cabinet, Biden's people know this? Of course they know. Are they going to talk about it? No. Not publicly. So how can America bring an end to this new BRICS digital currency thing without sticking their neck out too far? Attacking China and North Korea is a heavy lift. To use weightlifter terms, it's a heavy lift. China's got a huge military, so does North Korea. China has access to Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, because they're in the region. Guam also, Philippines also. North Korea obviously is next door to South Korea. That's a heavy lift for America. China is basically just baiting America with several times a week, or at least a few times a week, once or twice. Taiwan is surrounded by Chinese ships and airplanes violating their airspace. North Korea taunts Japan with missile launches in the Sea of Japan, scaring South Korea with weapons testings and stuff like this. They keep the tensions up, which causes America to keep a large amount of Navy vessels there and troops and planes. It stretches America thin. Yet there's no fighting. Why hasn't China attacked Taiwan and North Korea, South Korea? Because the time's not right yet. Now they're in the stage of keeping America distracted so they can build BRICS. You got that? They're distracting and bewildering America and NATO with Russia, Ukraine, Iran, Israel, Middle East, and North Korea, and China in the Asia-Pacific region. So they got America deploying assets all over the place, military assets. China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia, that's the big axis of evil, are not that interested in having a war with America now. America's too strong. The dollar is still holding up. And if they win, they're going to have catastrophic losses of an unknown degree. The chances of America being able to strike homeland China, homeland North Korea, homeland Russia, and Iran, all that is 100%. And they don't want that. Why would they? Their energy infrastructure could be destroyed. They could lose a lot of military. They could lose bridges, airports, ports, piers. They don't want it. Trillions of dollars of damage in days. And they could lose. And they know that. Even if all four of them fight together at the same time against America, they might lose. Or it might be a situation where there is no winner. All the countries get severely busted up to the point where they really can't conduct a serious warfare anymore. And nothing got accomplished except they destroyed their own countries. Nobody won. And that could happen too. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea are suffering from sanctions so bad, it's crippling their countries. America came up with this great idea. Trump came up with it. Put sanctions on anybody that defies us. They did it. And they keep increasing the sanctions steadily. North Korea is consistently supplying Russia with drones, missiles, and weapons. China sent 18,000 soldiers to help Russia fight in Ukraine. Now, there could be more shipments of soldiers. That might just be the first one. China might want to see what happens to them. Iran is giving Russia drones and missiles. This is keeping Russia in the fight against Ukraine. Why hasn't Putin shoved into Ukraine big time? He's afraid. He has to keep a great deal of his military might inside Mother Russia, which is a very, very large country, to protect his homeland, which has now been violated by Ukraine with the help of NATO. Rumors that I haven't confirmed yet are coming out the last day that NATO forces conducted an attack inside Russia from Finland. I don't know if it's confirmed yet. I don't know. I think it was Latvia had a drone from Russia 50 miles inside their borders. So NATO's a little bit afraid of attacking Russia too. They're trying to dismantle Russia using Ukraine to do it. They've run the Russian military reserves, their equipment and their soldiers down substantially. It didn't stop Russia So they're bringing F-16s into Ukraine. I understand there's about 12 there now. And they're giving these F-16s advanced long-range missiles to fire from the plane. So the plane can stay over the Ukraine boundaries and shoot into Russia long-range missiles. And they could also fly into Russia, especially that area which is about 130 square kilometers that they're occupying in Russia, and fire missiles from out of there without having to worry tremendously about air-to-ground defenses, anti-aircraft systems. The UK gave Ukraine long-range missiles, which I think could go up to 300 kilometers, which is about 180 miles. And they could probably, if firing these near the Russian border with Ukraine, they could probably hit Moscow and St. Petersburg as a guess to get around there someplace and probably hit them. And UK said, go ahead and attack inside Russia. America's given them their versions of long-range missiles and asking Ukraine to submit target packages to them of what they intend to hit, which would most likely be as follows. Oil and gas depots to run the vehicles, the tanks, the aircraft. Oil and gas refineries, probably pipelines, bridges, ammo and weapon dumps that Russia has, and probably storage facilities for aircraft and vehicles. I do not believe America is going to let Ukraine attack population centers or anything like that. Just physical targets, which will be devastating to Russia, don't get it wrong. They've taken out oil refineries, taken out weapons depots, they've taken out storage of fuel facilities near Ukraine that they use to supply fuel for trucks, jeeps, tanks, whatever, right? Generators to make heat, air conditioning, things like this. Ukraine's managed to blow up bridges so the Russians can't get supplies and reinforcements in to bail out soldiers that are stuck because the bridges are gone. So Ukraine is beginning to take apart Russia. They are. Let's not kid ourselves. Does Ukraine suffer a lot of troop losses? Yeah. Have a lot of people left Ukraine, civilians? Yeah. Does Putin hit civilian structures like malls, buildings, apartments? Yeah. Has Ukraine taken down several Russian warships successfully? Yes. Has Russia attacked NATO yet? No. Has NATO crossed all the red lines Russia's ever given them? Yes. Oh, at least 95% of them or something, So Russia's afraid to attack Ukraine. Why? Because NATO will undoubtedly at some point join in. And then Putin will be in a big war with NATO and America, possibly the whole EU, when he's not at his best and they're stronger than him. Why should he do that now? He shouldn't. It's stupid. What he should do is wait for better circumstances, and those better circumstances I'm going to unveil to you now. So what I'm going to tell you before I get to that is that this whole charade with China and Taiwan and North and South Korea, Iran and Israel in the Middle East with the proxies in Russia and Ukraine, is a distraction to America and NATO. and American allies like Australia and other countries, Japan. It's a distraction to keep them chasing their tails in the wrong place. They figure, correctly I would add, that if they disable or bust out America, they're going to run the world. Who's they? China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia with their buddies. There's other countries like Belarus, Cuba, Venezuela. There's several. Tajikistan, maybe Kazakhstan. They're gonna maybe Armenia, and there are other countries that they're gonna run the show. But the big players in this are gonna be at the top of the food chain. Okay, is going to be China and Russia. The next layer in the food chain would probably be Iran and North Korea. But in between those two, they'll have to put India, because India is just too big to ignore. It's a fantastic market for them, for BRICS. So India will have a lot of sway in BRICS, okay? And then after, Iran and North Korea, you'll see countries like Cuba, Venezuela, maybe Nicaragua, the UAE, Saudi Arabia. There'll be a bunch of them. They'll have very little influence in BRICS, but they'll benefit financially in a very big way. And they'll be able to ignore the United States' demands on them. Okay? Now, China, the BRICS people intend to open the BRICS payment system up to big retailers. Let's break that down. How does that work? Let's say you're a retailer in Europe and you got 120 shops and you buy clothing, women, men clothing, shoes, whatever. A large amount of what you're going to buy is going to come out of China, right? So you can use the BRICS payment system to pay China to get goods. And China will make sure to give you a sweetheart deal, and you're not going to be able to post gold and wheat and oil, so you'll have to purchase BRICS currency with your own country currency, do conversions or something to buy gold and then buy it, or there'll be a way to do it, believe me, and then they don't have to pay attention to their governments very much. Lawsuits aren't going to be able to come in and grab their money. Governments aren't going to be able to grab their money. Taxing authorities aren't going to be able to look at their receipts. It's going to be pretty confidential. So let's say you're in America and you own 380 restaurants and you want to start bringing food in and pay with BRICS. Well, right now there's no law against it, so they could also do it. And they would have to be able to buy the BRICS, not being a country with natural resources to pledge. They'd have to buy the currency, the BRICS, whatever they call it, a dollar, a peso, whatever. It'd probably be a BRICS unit or something. All right, so they could buy food chains in other countries could buy a large amount of food using BRICS, which would come from maybe South America, Asia, Mediterranean, who knows, depends, right? Same would apply to meat. You could use it to buy cars, and private individuals will be able to access the system. You'll just have to buy BRICS dollars. So, are they going to let drug dealers in? Not as the drug dealers standing on the corner, But will they let the big cartels in through front companies? Yeah, I imagine they will. They don't care. They'll take more billions of dollars away from America and put it in other currencies, not euros. So they're going to do everything they can to stop people from using the US dollar. The demand for the dollar will go down. China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Japan already sold their T-bills, their US Treasury bonds. They liquidated out of it. Why did Japan do it? Probably because Japan realizes America is hopeless and they intend to go with BRICS, and BRICS will take them in because Japan has a lot of great products to sell. Like what? Shoes, clothing, furniture? No. Japan has cars to sell, lots of great cars that they want to buy in these other BRIC countries. A lot of electrical appliances, things like that. High demand items, big flat screen TVs. So it looks like Japan's going to go in. Okay? And if Japan goes into BRICS and they don't attack North Korea or China, China and North Korea won't attack them. And Japan knows that. Taiwan's not going to be able to go in BRICS because China's claimed it. Now, if China decides they want to claim Japan, well, then Japan's not going to be able to go in. So basically, according to them, 159 countries are going to be using the BRICS payment system, the digital one, and then America is going to become a laughingstock because their sanctions is what they predominantly rely on, are going to have not much value. Will Israel join BRICS? Gee, I doubt it. Would they let Israel in? Oh, never. Israel's not getting in BRICS. If they want to, they're not getting in. They would say, sure, give the West Bank back and you could get in. You know, that kind of thing, you know. No, they're not going to do it. All right, let me check the chat for a minute, and then we'll go and try to establish a sense of timing for all this stuff, which is not going to be that hard to do. Not that easy, not that hard, but we'll do it. I'm going to do this in such a way that it makes sense. Now, if you see something now that doesn't make sense to you so far, let me know. Put it up in the chat or email me if you want more discretion. Let me see what's cooking in the chat, because I will answer questions. I want to answer questions. I don't think it has anything to do with Nasara. Nasara was just some sort of scam that goes back 10, 15 years ago. Like the Iraqi dinar or something like that. It just never comes to pass. Again, all very vague statements. Well, I'm trying to be as specific as I can. I don't know what you're telling me that's vague. You knew this 4 years ago. You did, but you didn't know that the attacks on Israel, Ukraine, and the threats against Taiwan and South Korea were the distraction for it. I read all the different media and stuff like that, and not the mainstream, the other stuff, social media. And I never heard that before. I never heard that from anybody. I'd like to know who you heard it from. I said it's about 130 square kilometers, not miles, kilometers. If I made a mistake and said miles, please forgive me. It's kilometers. A kilometer is 6/10 of a mile. So I think we line up. I haven't gotten into the Bible yet. Wait till I get there. If you have excess cash in the bank, I would say it's a good idea to buy gold and silver. Which is the better investment? Silver. Why? I'll tell you. Gold is, let's just take a shot at it just for a round figure, about 2,500 an ounce. So if gold doubles, it becomes $5,000 an ounce, which is super expensive, right? Silver is under 30, let's call it $30 an ounce. So if silver goes up 500%, it's $150 an ounce, still within reach for many people. So you could just say, the market for silver is going to be open to many poor people. What'll happen when this thing goes down with the BRICS currency is America is going to do a few things. Some of you are not old enough to remember Jimmy Carter. I do. And there was tremendous inflation going on in the 70s, 76-ish or something like that, And Carter put price controls to stop the inflation. But they were, the big companies abided by them. The little players, the supermarket, the independent clothing store, they didn't abide by it. But, the big companies did, like Gulf and Standard Oil and Ford, they listened. There'll be price controls in America to try to stop the inflation. Okay. And what you're probably going to see is a run on currency. And I'll explain. A run on currency is people are afraid the banks will fail, their money will be frozen. Yes, you have FDIC insurance, and credit unions have their own version of it and all that, but it takes a month or so on normal circumstances to get your money back if the bank fails. It's about a month. When this happens, it's not going to be a month. It's going to be what, 3, 4, 5 months? It's going to be a long time. They'll be backlogged, tremendously backlogged, and they're not going to want to let you have your money right away, because they're going to keep thinking, the American government will think, "Oh, we'll get better. We'll get out of this." How are they going to get out of it? They're not. Okay, so people are going to go to the bank and try sucking their cash out. Why? Well, they're going to think they're better off having the cash, let's say, in the mattress or the pillowcase or in the gun safe or whatever, than in the bank. And a lot of people are not stupid. There's a lot of preppers, survivalists, gun people, etc., that understand things that, let's say, the left wing doesn't really understand. And a lot of the people that just think America's great and it's going to go on forever, that don't understand. So they're going to take the cash and they're going to convert it into goods that can be bartered, because bartering will eventually come. So what can be bartered? Well, any food item, canned foods, um, drugstore items will come into demand. Contact lens solution, Tylenol, ibuprofen, Pepto-Bismol. I mean, all kinds of things. So they'll, rocket stoves could be, grills to barbecue, all kinds of things. They'll invest. Guns, bullets, of course, and gold and silver. They would much rather be sitting on silver coins and bars and gold bars and coins than sitting there punching in online and seeing how much money they have at the bank that they can't take out. So the bank will put a limit as to how much cash you could take out a day. This has been going on in banks around the world in the recent 2 or 3 years in different countries off and on. It happens. Lebanon has it now. Other countries, I believe, have it. It's not unusual. I don't know what the limit would be. Probably 1,000 a day, maybe 500 a day. I don't know. If you're a member of the elite, would it apply to you? Of course not. They'll have a workaround. They might have to take it out from their business accounts or corporate accounts or something. Corporations or businesses may have a different limit, maybe 5 or 10,000 a day. I don't know. But I could tell you right now, if you're going to buy gold and silver, I wouldn't buy platinum. I wouldn't buy palladium. Forget that stuff. It's too obscure. People don't understand it. The demand's not really there. Gold and silver is fine. Both of them are fine. I think you'll stand to have a much greater gain with silver. If gold went 500-fold, you'd be at what, $12,500 an ounce of gold? It'd be crazy prices. But if silver went 5-fold, it'd be $150. So silver has an ounce. Silver has a much greater room for you to, get a higher return on your investment. Okay? A lot of people aren't going to want to go into gold. They don't have that much money. There's small people that got $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, something like that $1,000, and they want to put it in precious metals. And look, let's talk reality. If silver is 5,000 an ounce, which is easy, gold goes to 5,000. It's easy to see that. And you want to buy something with gold, what are you going to do? Take an X-Acto knife and cut a sliver off? I mean, it's not that practical. If you can buy the silver, you got to really learn about fraud on these things. If you're going to buy gold and you buy the coins, I think you're safer. You may have to pay a little bit of a premium, but I think you're safer. What you do is they have these wooden and plastic, I don't know what you call it, a mold. It's a little thing, you open a cover and it has a hole in it. And the hole matches perfectly the size of the gold coin you're going after. Krugerrand, or there's American double eagles, there's all kinds of, you might have to get a couple of these molds or something. They're, $4 or $5 or something, they're not expensive. You put the coin in there, and you see how it fits the edges and make sure it's level with the top. Now that's far from the end of it. Then you have to have a digital scale and weigh the thing and make sure the weight comes in. Okay? And if you got that far, you're probably okay. Now, if you're going to go buy from a pawn shop or a coin dealer or somebody like that, they're going to test the incoming goods. Now, they could be dishonest in times of chaos too, but I would think it's a little bit more difficult to get a good counterfeit. Now, you can get something called a rare earth magnet. They might cost $5 or $10. And you could run it around your silver coin to see if the pull of the magnet varies around different places of the coin. That would tell you something's rotten in Denmark. Now, gold does not react to a rare earth magnet. So if you put your rare earth magnet on the gold coin and in places it sticks to the coin, well, that's not an all gold coin. You drop that. So you could go to the pawn shop or the coin store with a small digital scale and one of those molds to measure the size of the coin and a rare earth magnet, and you are probably 99% pretty secure of not getting a counterfeit. Now, why would the counterfeiters focus on silver when they could go after gold? It's much easier when the work level is probably about the same. You see, so the counterfeiters are also going to put their energy in things like gold. Now, there are people out there that are going to buy platinum bars and coins and maybe even palladium, although palladium would be much rarer, but platinum people do invest in. I wouldn't, but people do. And so you got a much greater return on silver. Okay, so by by limiting how much money you could take out of the banks, the government enables the banks to stay more liquid on paper and keep their doors open. If the banks have to fail, the government could just shovel more paper money, digital money, dollars that they make out of thin air into the banks to shore them up. And there's other things they could do, merge banks and so forth. But I think one of the first things they'll try to do is shut the withdrawals down. Okay? Now, there's been gunplay and riots, I know, in Lebanon over these limited cash withdrawals. You can't get your money out of the bank. Why do they want their money out of the Bank of Lebanon? Because they want to convert it to another currency, typically a dollar or a euro, which isn't as crappy as the Lebanon currency, whatever they call it, a pound or a lira, I don't know, something like that. So that's why they, and there's money changes that run around in the streets, and there will be in America that'll do these conversions for you. But if the dollar gets real bad, they're just not going to want your dollars at all. Because what are they going to do with them? Now, the IRGC has already, that's Iran's soldiers. They've already been in Algeria, they're there. They brought weapons into Algeria. The top of Africa is Morocco. Over next door to the east, but not by far, is Algeria. Now, what Iran wants to do is what they did with Yemen, closing the Red Sea. And Algeria appears to be all in. There's a thing called the Straits of Gibraltar, which connects Africa to Europe. I believe it goes to Portugal or maybe Spain, right at the bottom. It's a very narrow pincher point, like with Yemen and the Red Sea, down by the south of Yemen. It's very similar, actually. And it's like the Bosphorus Straits also. It's very easily controlled with not very sophisticated missiles and artillery, which Iran supplied missiles to them. So they could shut the passage from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean, and Iran is planning to do that. This is open intel, okay? They're planning to do it. They've already made moves with the soldiers and the equipment. They're waiting for the right moment. Okay, so that means America and UK and NATO have to start attacking Algeria, which is not that hard for them to do. But now they got to be attacking Yemen, Algeria, Iran, and all. It's a lot. Okay, And Russia wants that because the more fights they can get America into, the easier it makes Russia to attack NATO, because NATO without America is not that much of a threat to Russia. And China could hit Taiwan, Japan, and North Korea hit South Korea. So they want to see America distracted in all these places. You see, countries like Algeria, Lebanon, Yemen, Gaza, which isn't really a country, they're throwaway, disposable pawns in the game. They're not important. These are Muslim fanatics that are into this jihad and martyrdom and get my 70 virgins and stuff like that. The leaders of these countries are straight up Satan bots. They know that's not the case, but they use it. Okay? So, yeah, they're going to do Algeria. They're prepping for it now. They have been at least 6 or 8 weeks. So what would they do? They did the standard tunnels, underground bunkers, missiles, everything. Algeria is not a big, mighty, powerful country. They tried to get Morocco to shut the straits, but Morocco was scared. So the chances are when the eggs hit the fan, Morocco will join in with Algeria, and the both of them, they're both Muslim majority countries, will block the Straits of Gibraltar. Maybe not at the beginning with Morocco, but I think they would join in. Or they may go right at the beginning, I don't know. If they do it, they're in BRICS, they could use the BRICS money system, they're going to be treated favorably. Now, how many of these places is America going to be able to attack? You see? So, also you might want to consider when they start shutting down more of the waterways, there's going to be food shortages in Europe and America. A lot of the food going to NATO and EU countries is imported, and the same with America. And they'll start shutting that stuff down. They go to the Central South American countries, they send all kinds of food up to America and say, hey, if you're going to send food to America, you can't join BRICS. Oh, okay, we won't. You don't have to sell it to them. Sell it to us. We'll trade in BRIC dollars, send your ships to us, we'll come pick it up, whatever. You'll make out better. You'll have a great market. You don't have to pay attention to America. No Food and Drug Administration, no inspections, no taxing, no this and no that, Yeah, okay, sounds good to me. That's all. And we're going to show you that in Isaiah 47 in a while, okay? So, yeah, the other thing I would suggest, because it's inevitable you're going to see shortages. Now, the Bible, as a birth pang, has famines, so that's in there. Food shortages are not going to mean nobody's going to have any food. Food shortages are that things are going to be in short supply. There's going to be outages in the supermarkets from time to time, and prices are going to be much higher than what you've ever seen before. Now, if a loaf of bread costs you $2, it's not going to cost you $19, but it might cost you $5 or $6. But all this stuff adds up. Home heating oil will soar. See, Iran is nursing Jordan into the fold. Jordan's going to go. It's in the Bible. Jordan is Ammon and Edom, and Ammon is northern Jordan, the capital, and Moab is the southern area, middle and southern Jordan. And they're going to go over to Iran. They've already took a trip to Iran. They're getting ready. The UAE's in, Saudi Arabia's in, Kuwait will cave in. A few months ago, they hosted an Iranian Navy flotilla. They'll go. Bahrain and Qatar, I don't know. They're not that significant. I don't know what they'll do. I'm sure they won't want to go over to Iran, but they probably will. Yemen's got some oil. They're already right in the fold. Lebanon's got some oil there in the fold. Iraq is a puppet of theirs. Turkey has no oil, but he seems to be going their way. Egypt has oil, they'll go their way. See how it's going? Okay. So you'll have food shortages. Nothing coming from the Mediterranean. The Red Sea route will have to go around Africa, and it's going to be pretty difficult. And then what Iran is going to have these oil-producing countries in the Middle East do when they come into the fold is reduce their production. 10%, 10% next month or whatever, right? What's that going to do? It's going to spike oil prices. And there's not that many people that are going to be selling you oil in dollars. Venezuela won't, Russia won't, China won't. I mean, there's other places you go to, but Jordan won't, UAE won't, Kuwait won't. Where are you going to go? If Iran has to, they might try closing the Persian Gulf, but I don't think it'll happen. I don't think they need to. They're also talking about cutting off some land, some pincher point in Asia. So Thailand wants to go into BRICS. And, it's a lot of countries. It's going to hurt. Let me check. The chat and see if I have any other questions. I think I addressed the gold and silver. I believe I did. If you're going to get food, you don't need it for a long term. Just go buy canned food in the supermarket. It'll last you for years. If you want, you can get the glass jars and can your own food. Or you can just buy supermarket canned food. Soup, bread, vegetables, meats, whatever. You can get one of those vacuum sealers and put stuff in a vacuum bag. It'll last you for months. You just need months. Israel doesn't need them, you're right. But God's going to deliver Israel in a way that everybody knows God's going to deliver them. That God did it. It's not going to come from the military or from America or anything else. October 7th, the 2030, I don't know about that. I don't know what you're talking about with Day of Atonement 2030. I don't know. Do you believe the Lord's not dead? If you think something's going to happen on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, then you obviously believe the Lord's not dead. Do you observe the law? I do. Big lighters, alcohol, yeah. Good ideas. Ammo would likely be very valuable. I believe in silver. Oh, colloidal silver, yeah. I believe you can make colloidal silver from silver dollars. With the battery electrolysis thing, whatever they call it. Many years ago, I used to make my own colloidal silver. I just bought a bottle recently. I use it on the animals. You could also buy small silver, that's right. You could buy small gold too. But okay, so all these wars are just a distraction, okay? What they're waiting for is to affect the BRICS currency system, and at the same time, Trump says you have 20 million illegals or migrants that some may have converted to amnesty status, some not, in America. Everybody says 70% of them are military-age males. Let's assume it's not 20 million. Be generous. Whack it in half. It's 10 million. Okay, Trump said 20. It's probably 20. Say 10 million. So you got 7 million sleeper-age males. It's common knowledge that they've been going to land that China purchased next to American military bases. It's estimated that they have up to 350,000 acres of land right next to big American military bases. What do you think they're next to the military bases for? To dance with them? You can take them out. America's the daughter of Babylon. Jeremiah 50:51. That's it. Some will believe it, some won't. But I'll just give you a crash course. It cannot be Mecca or Medina because it says that there's many multitudes of people, the melting pot there. There's only Muslims in Mecca and Medina. It says the daughter of Babylon sits on many waters. Mecca and Medina are in the middle of the desert. There's no waters. Now comes the Vatican. First fact, in the Vatican, 200 to 300 people live there, not any Jews. It talks about the Jews and the believers coming out of America and going in the next great exodus to Israel in Jeremiah 50:51. What Jews in the Vatican? There's not a single Jew there. There's only 200 to 300 people sitting on many waters, multitude of people. They're all Catholics. There are a multitude of waters. What have they got in the Vatican? A few bottles of holy water and water fountains and toilets. They don't have many waters. It's a joke. It's not Vatican, it's not Mecca, it's not Medina, it's America. What waters does America sit on? 8,000 rivers, about as many lakes. You got the Great Lakes, which are like oceans. You've got the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Gulf of Mexico. Does that sound like sitting on many waters? It sure does to me. This is all a distraction, what they're doing. Okay? They're afraid to push and go against America. Even if they go all at the same time. North Korea attacks South Korea. China attacks Taiwan, and North Korea and China attack Japan. NATO attacks Russia. Iran attacks Israel with our proxies. You know, and America starts intervening all over the place. They don't want that. They're going to suffer too much damage. It'll take them years to rebuild their infrastructure after this. Russia's oil refineries will go. The oil wells will get blown up. The ports and the piers where they transfer the oil and natural gas into ships will go. And where they transfer the grain to ships, that'll go. Everything is going to go. China could easily get hit in their homeland. North Korea too. They don't want it. But when they bust the American economy, which is happening, what's going to happen in America? You're going to have chaos. People in the amount of, maybe 50 million, 75 million that are not awake are going to wake up. And who are they going to get mad at? Trump? Trump's more of a victim than anything else. They're not going to get mad at Trump. They're going to get mad at the Biden administration. They're going to get mad at Israel? Why are they going to get mad at Israel? A lot of church people are going to try to blame this whole thing on Israel, but it won't fly. What has Israel got to do with Taiwan and North and South Korea and China? What has Israel got to do with Russia and Ukraine? It's going to go against Biden. Now, is there a way Trump would get into the White House earlier than January? You got me. It says in Jeremiah 50:51, they tried to apply balm to her wounds, but she would not heal. That means they're not going to fix America. The next thing you read is they leave. They go back to their own countries. They get out of America. You also got another sign where it says in Jeremiah 50:51, the people that come into America from other countries that do the planting and the harvesting, the agricultural workers, mostly Mexico, South Central America, they're going to leave and go back to their own countries for fear of the sword. It also says there'll be violence in the land. Yeah, you've got violence in America, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Sleeper agents are starting to invade houses now. They're shoplifting from stores. They're knocking people off in the street, not killing them. Two come on a motorcycle. The one on the back jumps off, grabs the necklace, gets the wristwatch, takes the cell phone, grabs the wallet, gets back on the bike, drives away. New York City and I'm sure other places. They're occupying migrant hotels. It's estimated this Venezuelan gang, I don't know how to pronounce the name of them, is up to 1 million in America now. They're operating in Colorado, Aurora, they're operating in Denver, they're operating in New York. There's now 20 to 30,000 migrants in Springfield, Ohio, and they've called the National Guard in to maintain order. They don't know how they're going to care for these migrants. You got enough of these migrants running around, and there's no room for them, and you got gangs organizing them, and you got China and Russia and the Islamic terrorist states agents organizing them. They're going to tell them, go break into somebody's house, 5 or 10 of you, and go live there. Go find the big houses and go live there. Keep all the stuff in the house. I'm telling you, the police will be helpless. Helpless. They won't do anything. The police, and I was in law enforcement in several different jobs when I was young, they are mercenaries. Okay, my day we didn't have bulletproof vests and we used revolvers. I'm old, obviously, okay? But we were pretty ethical. We didn't go around pulling anybody over and giving them hundreds of dollars worth of tickets because their windows were over-tinted. We didn't carry around something to measure the tinting in the glass. I was in Florida doing law enforcement, and people were allowed to drive and drink a cocktail while they were driving, or a can of beer. Drinking while driving was not illegal. Driving while drunk was. What did you do? Well, it depended how drunk they were. If they fell asleep at the wheel, they were very dangerous, or veering and swerving. You basically would get the car towed, or maybe have it parked, and you took them in. But you didn't send them for a prison sentence. You kept them for a few hours, so they sobered up and put them in a drunk tank where they could, expel liquids. And you didn't beat them up or anything like that. What do they do to them today? I don't know. It's horrible what they do to them. But I mean, is drunk driving a good thing? No, it's idiotic. You can kill yourself and other people. It's an idiot idea. But a lot of people do it. But, We didn't. We said, well, we'd like to look in the trunk of your car. No, you don't have the right. I don't want you. We say, okay. You know, we didn't say, oh, we'll get a dog, or we didn't do anything like that. You know, we didn't shoot people 8 or 9 times till they stopped moving. You shot them. I mean, it was so rare to shoot somebody back then. If you nailed them, we were using predominantly 357s. Some guys had 38s, but a lot had 357s. 125 grain Remington scallop semi-jacketed hollow point, 1450 feet per second out of a 4-inch barrel. When you hit them, it was like they got hit with lightning or something. They didn't keep moving and run around. But because they're recruiting women and very short people and, people that are not, macho, let's say, they can't use the 357. Those suckers do kick. A full house load in a 4-inch 357 is going to give you a good jolt. So they give them a 9mm, which is not much of a recoil. And they give them like 15 rounds on average, and then they tell them to keep shooting somebody until they stop moving. That's murder. Initially, we'd shoot them once, maybe twice, and we wouldn't shoot them unless they were trying to kill us or kill somebody else. If somebody was running from us in the car, we didn't shoot at them from one moving car to another. That's idiot behavior. You don't know what you're going to hit. I mean, the chances of getting a good hit, if you're 5-6 feet behind them, yeah, okay. But, I see them on YouTube, they shoot, they're 20, 40, 50 feet away. Listen, these cops are mercenaries. It's so easy with overtime to hit 100,000 plus a year with them in benefits. And they get special privileges. They can take their guns wherever they want to go, carry guns all over the country. They get off on all this stuff. Oh, I don't get tickets if I get pulled over, and, all this kind of crap. And they don't see themselves as members of the community. Okay? They don't see themselves as members of the community. They see there's them and everybody else. And they don't care about the people. This business is shooting people, 6, 7, 8, 9 times till they stop moving. That's murder. If somebody breaks into your house at night with a full automatic AR and you take out a 45 and you pump him and you hit him with a round and he falls down and he's laying on the floor with, foam coming out of his mouth going, and you go boom, 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 you got a good chance in a lot of jurisdictions, if they know you did it, getting run up for murder, and they can tell. They look at the ballistics, the path of the bullet, and they're going to see you shot down at them or on the floor. They might run you up for murder, aggravated assault, or something like that. You have a right to defend yourself and stop the threat. If they keep moving towards you, you could keep shooting. But once they fall down, if they have the gun, you can continue shooting. But you might get in trouble, but they don't do anything to these cops. So the cops, when they see these military age sleeper agents coming with guns and everything else, they're going to hide from them. I'm telling you, they're going to hide from them. And these guys are going to assassinate them. They're going to roll up on them in their cars and shoot them at almost point blank. And these guys are going to get on shift and they're going to hide. And if somebody reports there's a disturbance with migrants, they'll come 2 hours later. They won't care if they get fired. They'll protest the firing, use the union lawyer, if they got a union, drag it out and try to get their job back, and things like this. They'll take probation, they'll take temporary suspensions, they'll call in sick, they'll do whatever they got to do to keep the job as long as they can and not endanger themselves. They're going to be worthless. So somebody comes to your house. So, okay, 4 or 5 people come to your house and you're a shooter, your wife's a shooter, your son's a shooter. You can engage them. Can you win? You likely would if you know how to shoot. But let's say you see, 40 guys come into your house and a lot of them have guns. Ask yourself, you got 3 shooters in the house, are you really going to engage 40 of them? They'll burn your house with a Molotov in a bottle or something. They'll start fires in your house and wait for you to come out, and then they'll rape and kill and torture. That's what they'll do. You think you don't have Hezbollah, Hamas, ISIS, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and others as sleeper agents in America? Guess again, you got them. You got them. These are not civilized people. These are insane serial killers obsessed with murder and raping. What they do on October 7th in Israel, they cut a fetus out of a mother while she was alive. They raped women so much that they broke their pelvises. They raped them after they were dead. They raped men. Yeah, they did. They put a baby in an oven. They took a mother and a child and they tied them together with wire and lit them afire with gasoline. They put other civilians in vehicles, poured gasoline and lit them up. They shot children in front of the parents. They shot parents in front of the children. They cut heads off the bodies. These are sick people, and you got them. And we're dealing with them all the time here in Israel. I know what they're like. And when they come to the house, it's just like on October 7th. If they can't get into the house because we have secure rooms called bomb shelters, they couldn't get in, they burned the house. They had thermal grenades. Thermal grenades, they start high heat fires and they burn the house up. People died of smoke inhalation, basically. You can't burn the bomb shelter. It's big, thick, reinforced concrete. It's not going to burn. But you could, they choke with air, from the smoke and the heat. They killed them. They come up to the house, and we got a lousy leader named Netanyahu who pushes gun control on the people. What Netanyahu should have done after October 7th is he should have taken the spare weapons out of the armories the military has. The old Uzis, the old Galilee rifles, the old M16s. Handed them out with 100 or 200 rounds of ammo to every Jew that wanted one. If they want to make it go for a few hours of training, so what? And do you think we'd have a terrorism problem in Israel if we did that? I don't. Not at all. We wouldn't have any terrorist problem. An armed society is a polite society. The only reason governments don't want you to have guns is to protect themselves from you. That's it. There's no good reason for gun control. It doesn't exist. Where in the Constitution does it say you have the right to keep and bear arms unless you go to jail and get convicted of a felony? In the old days, a guy needed his rifle to hunt, okay, and protect his livestock from predators and stuff like that. When a guy got out of prison, he could go to the gun store and buy a gun. They wouldn't take his gun away because he went to prison. What kind of garbage is that? I've never been arrested. I'm just saying, what's the point of taking the guns away from people that have been arrested? It's just a way to unarm a percentage of the population. Then they spread to domestic abuse potential. And then they spread to veterans that are under psychiatric care. They just keep looking for little areas and pockets of people they could get away with blocking from getting weapons. It's the salami theory. You keep cutting enough pieces off the salami, you got nothing left. That's all they're doing with that. It's unconstitutional to tell the felon he can't have a gun, or a veteran because he's got some mental impairment, he can't have a gun. Or, yeah, well, what do you do this for? I mean, then they'll tell people that ever tried to kill themselves they can't have a gun, and it's ridiculous. I mean, and Netanyahu is. There are people that have guns in Israel. There's quite a few, and they tried to loosen the gun laws, and Netanyahu just stymied it. He's not such a good friend of Israel. He's the leader. He's not such a good friend. Believe me. Believe me. We got a big terrorist problem in Israel, and what would end it is even another 250,000 guns on the street. We're not a big country. But this piece of garbage doesn't want the people armed. Now, if you live in the West Bank or you travel in the West Bank, you can pretty automatically get a gun license. But listen to what this scumbag does to us. When you buy the gun, you could only get 100 rounds. It used to be 50 rounds. Now it's 100 rounds of ammo to keep in your house. And that 100 rounds of ammo follows the gun. The whole time you own that gun, you are not allowed to buy any more ammo to keep in your house than that 100 rounds. When you go to the range, you can buy rounds at the range and practice, but you can't leave the range with that ammo. What a piece of crap he is. You can't buy a shotgun. Nobody got a shotgun here. What's the best thing for home defense? Well, a lot of people think a shotgun is. I'm one. Pistols are good too, but shotguns are better. If you put the right choke on a 12 gauge, even with 2 3/4 shells, you can go out 100 yards and still hit a circle like this. You got to get the right choke. If you get a duck's bill choke that goes down like a duck's bill, you can take one round of number 4 buck and bring down 4 or 5 people because it spreads it out in a line. Can you buy an assault rifle for your gun here in Israel? No. The only gun they're really going to let you have is a pistol. If you get a hunting license, yeah, there is hunting here. They'll let you have a hunting rifle. You might be able to get a pistol and a hunting rifle. It's not easy, you might. And you might be able to get a 22 and a 9mm. So the 9mm, I'm sad to say, is the most popular round in Israel. I'm familiar with their shooting tactics, with the military and stuff like that, and I want to tell you I'm very unimpressed. I got my training from Robbie Barkman, if you guys know who he is. He used to be Jeff Cooper's range master. I would call myself an accomplished shooter. I must have fired 100,000 rounds in my day, I guess. I must own 50 or 60 guns. You can't do that stuff here in America. I used to keep, at least 10 or 12 guns in the house, if not 20. And I usually have 5 or 10,000 rounds of ammo. Now the Arabs get illegal guns and Netanyahu does nothing to them. And it's so blatant here in the Arab villages in Israel, when they have a wedding or a celebration, they shoot full clips, 40 rounds of the AK-47 in the air celebrating, and they don't go to jail, nothing happens to them. Those are Satan's chosen people, I guess. So, Netanyahu's a real piece of work, let me tell you. He's horrible. So, that's not what you're here to hear about. So, America's the daughter of Babylon, okay? Now, let me check the chat again and see if I get any questions, because I do want to answer questions if I get any. You can ask me about Israel and stuff and the wars if you want. Sleeping cells are everywhere, correct. But they're starting to move in on the migrant hotels, and pretty soon they're going to tell them to occupy people's houses. They'll go to an expensive community. They're not going to go to the ghetto houses with the crack dealers and all the gangs and stuff. What do they want to start up with the gangs for? The gangs will kill them. The gangs are as blood, as dangerous as they are. Gangs know how to take out another gang. They're just another gang. They're not a military with tanks and helicopters and aircraft and radar and missiles. They're just another gang. Maybe once upon a time they were in a military, but they're not a military. They got small arms only, So, you're in a nice community, a gated community or a rich area. There's, 200-300 houses or 50 houses. And, a lot of the houses are worth, 700,000-800,000 to 3-4 million. They come in large numbers, hundreds, and they go to the house and they just kick the doors or the windows. If they're shooting, they'll fire back, take cover, and throw Molotov cocktails in your house. How many of you preppers have gone out there and bought 25 fire extinguishers? No. Preppers don't understand this. I do. I live in Israel. I know what they do. We all got I got 2 bomb shelters in my property. How many do you have? You can't break into bomb shelters. Thick rebar concrete. It has a window. It's, I think, 3/4 of an inch rolled steel with a big lock on it, a bar that locks. And the door's made out of metal. And the bolts come up. There's the hinges on one side. You got bolts on the top, bolts on the bottom, bolts on the side. How you getting through that? Bolts into heavy, thick, reinforced concrete. No, it's a job. If you got a jackhammer, you'll get in. If you got explosives, yeah, you could blow the place up. Yeah, that would work. Would you be able to shoot regular rifles? Probably wouldn't get through. If you had armor piercing, 223 or AK-47, I don't think so. If you had a 50, it would go right through. Not the concrete, it would go through the door. Okay, so, they're going to burn the houses if you don't let them in. Now, you could have 75 guns in the house with 200 rounds of ammo, and they start throwing Molotovs, hitting your roof, your doors, your windows. What are you going to do? How many people go ahead and get hurricane-proof windows so you can't kick the window in and throw Molotovs through it? How many of them have metal doors? How many of them have hurricane garage doors that are not very easy to rip off? You just get in the garage and burn your garage, your house will take off, or you'll die of smoke. How many people got big sliding glass doors in the back? They'll go around to the back. Boom. Right through the door to Molotov. It'll burn you out. They can't have your house, neither can you. When it's on fire and you come out, what happens? How many preppers and survivalists got fire extinguishers to put the fires out? How many of them have breathing apparatus? Without the fire extinguishers, the breathing mask is going to help you not die from the smoke. You're going to go up in flames and heat. But if you had a bunch of fire extinguishers and the breathing mask, you'd survive it. They're not going to stick around and keep throwing Molotovs at you. They'll throw 2, 3, 4 and walk away. They'll wait till they see the flames take off, and then they'll go to the next house. Can you just say, I'm going to engage them and have 2, 3 people with 12 gauges when they're on the lawn start pumping double up buck at them? Sure. Would you hit them? Yeah. Would you kill and wound them? Absolutely. Would that stop them? No, it would just get them mad. They'd probably want to torture you then. But what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to just give in. Now, they might say, if you just leave your house right now, you're free to go. We're not going to hurt you. And they mean it. Okay? They mean it. The Chinese sleeper agents, the cartel sleeper agents, the Russian sleeper agents, China, North Korea, they're not Jew haters like Hamas coming into Israel. They don't have that. They want your house. So if you just leave, they're not going to let you pack suitcases. They move in, a bunch of them. What are they going to do in the house? Well, they're going to start by hitting your liquor, hitting your food, taking your clothes, taking your electronics. They might, before you leave, put a gun in your mouth and make you open up any safes you have. And they'll take your cars and jewelry and anything they can find, and you're out. You're out standing there in the street, and then you're going to run and walk away to get away from them and get help, and somebody will try to put you up. And they'll take number of houses away and create blocks that they control. And then they'll have their gang members, their soldiers, stand out in the yards, sit on chairs in the yards, in the front, the back. They'll be up on the roof, and they'll patrol they'll keep surveillance and patrol. The police are not going to come. They'll kill them. They'll kill them. The police might try in some community to raise 200 or 300 or 400 cops and come in and kill them. And what'll happen then is there'll be a big gunfight, and both sides will get busted up. I don't know who'll win, but that's not going to happen much at all. And they'll start taking private houses over, and they'll live there. They'll trash the place, they'll have parties there, the swimming pool will be polluted, and then they're going to also hit the mansions. The real, the $5 to $50 million houses. There must be 100 or 200 million, at least 100 communities in America that got houses in many millions of dollars, 10, 20,000 square feet, indoor pools, outdoor pools, 2-3 acres, 2-3 levels, indoor kitchens, outdoor kitchens, 7 bars, jacuzzis, steam rooms, rainfall showers that 3 people could walk into, all of this stuff. You think they're not going to hit them? Oh, they're going to hit them. What are these people going to do? They're going to hide in their safe room. They'll find it. Now, the hiding in the safe room works both ways. Since they're going to occupy the house, these people can never leave. They'll be in the safe room until they surrender. That's all. When they surrender comes the raping, the beating, the torturing to see if there's hidden money and jewels. They'll hit the medicine cabinets for drugs. When they finish with the house and the food is gone and they looted all the clothing and valuables and the liquor is gone and everything else, they'll just go and say, well, we got to go find ourselves another house. The police aren't going to come. I'm telling you. The very beginning, until a few of these cops get wounded and killed, they'll come, and then they won't come anymore. I'm telling you. Communities that have an Operation Watch that's on, let's say you're in a quote-unquote, area with a lot of hunters and gun people, and they get together. There's a community, and they decide to go on patrols 24/7 with cars and jeeps and trucks, and maybe 4 or 8 at a time. 2 carloads, all armed with shotguns, rifles, pistols, spare ammo. Some will have vests, radio communication, and they drive around. And when they see these guys coming, they put out an alert, and then they start engaging, block the road with their vehicles, stay behind the vehicles, and warning shots, and then begin gunfire, waiting for the other guys in the community to run out with their guns. What will happen? It's simple. The migrants will leave. What do you think they're going to do? They'll just leave. I don't think they'll get into it. If you've got 40, 50 guys and they got 200, 300, I don't think they're going to bother with a gunfight with you. They'll go someplace else, come back another time. Why bother? There's such a rich, target-rich environment of houses to hit. Why are they going to have a knockdown 4 or 5 hour gunfight and lose guys, get wounded? Or for what? They'll go find another community. That's all they'll do. Will some of these guys get killed? These terrorists? Yep. Lots of them will get killed. Nobody really cares about that. Well, there's somebody here that might want us to pray they die young. He says, you're too old to worry about any of this anymore. Well, maybe this one wants to die young. I don't know who Jimmy is. Jimmy Carter? I don't know who you're talking about. People modify ARs to be auto, but there are a lot of automatic weapons. The weapon of choice for the terrorists, the cartel people, the Chinese, the North Koreans, the Iranians, the Russians is like an AK-47 type gun, and they come full auto. I'm reading the chat to see if I got questions. Somebody's saying on the 7th day of the feast, do you follow the law? I do, but most people don't. The churches teach the law is dead. Then they turn around and tell you Yeshua's going to come back on the Feast of Trumpets or Yom Kippur or something like that. Isn't that a gross inconsistency? They haven't made their mind up yet if the law is dead or not. It's not dead. 'People need to know, but they need to figure out what they're going to do. Just knowledge, you need to understand. The Bible to me is the truth. Yeah, in Katrina, the cops were looting. I saw pictures of it, and they were running away and everything like that. The AK is a good gun. There's other good guns. Two to three rounds is the 3-shot burst is the best. The gun I never got that I always wanted to get was the Beretta with the little pull down grip by the trigger guard that would go full auto. I shot a full auto Glock 45 once, and it was not an encouraging experience. It worked like this. It was, I don't remember if it went up in this direction or it went this direction. I think it went this way. It was not, a real, you know, it wasn't the full-size Glock. It was a mid-size Glock 45 ACP. It went a full auto, and it wasn't really that practical. The Beretta, they made a 92F type version. It had different designation. A full-size Beretta 9mm. They had a little grip thing you could hang on with 2 or 3 fingers, and you could put I guess a 15-round clip in there, and it would go in a full auto. I think it had a 3-shot burst fix, but you run out of ammo pretty quick. I mean, you could empty a Glock 45 in full auto like, you know, you're dry. It was like 10 rounds or something. You'd be dry, you know. The way they'll take the cops out is they'll roll up on them when the cops are in their car with their AKs on full auto, and they'll drop 40-round clips in the car. They're not highly accurate shooters. Well, the military ones, and some of the terrorists can be. They'll just drop a clip in the car with 2 clips, and you know, it's like figure 3 seconds, 4 seconds to drop a clip of 40 rounds in a car. 2 shooters, 2 clips, 1 in the front passenger, one in the right front seat, 1 in the rear seat on the right. Let's say the cop car's on the right. They're there a few seconds, they just drive away. The cop car will be a shambles, and the chances are anything living will be dead. If they got armored windows, which they might have in some departments, they're just really designed to stop pistols and shotguns. And the AK at 125 grain round with full metal jacket at 2450 feet per second is more than likely going to go through. To stop that, you need like 28mm armored glass, which is so heavy and expensive they wouldn't get it. And that's it. They're gone. There'd be like no survival for anything in the car, you know. It just wouldn't work. They'd take hits and die. Their vests aren't going to stop the AKs. No, they don't have a chance. And that's how they'll take care of them. Also, they'll raid the police station. They do that in Israel. They'll a couple of hundred of them will come descend on a police station, and what are they going to do? They're going to have those thermal grenades to start fires or Molotovs. They'll just burn the police station. They'll burn all the cars in the garage. You know, they have a fenced yard usually. They'll burn the cars there. They'll try to burn the communications tower or blow it up, knock out the communications with the cops. They'll be forced to use cell phones, which is not the same thing by far. And they'll take the police stations down. You think they won't? I know they will. They attack military outposts. They'll attack, I'm telling you. The police don't have tanks. They don't have attack helicopters. They don't have attack jets. They, you know, maybe a couple of big police departments have 2 Bearcats, which is an armored personnel carrier with rubber tires. They might have, you know, a huge police department, like New York, may have 6 or 8 of them or something like that, you know. These wealthy communities, like Beverly Hills has 1 of them. You think they won't hit Beverly Hills? They'll hit Beverly Hills. Why wouldn't they hit Beverly Hills? They'll hit Malibu. They'll hit Holmby Hills. They'll hit all these elite communities. Cherry Hill, New Jersey, the islands in the Miami area, the expensive places. Sure, they'll hit apartment buildings too. You know, what's wrong with living in a high-rise apartment building on the water in Miami? Well, plenty. When the power goes out, what are you going to do? Go up 18 flights of steps every time you want to come in and out? Yeah, they're not going to go for that. They're going to go for the estates, the mansions. They're going to go for the boats. They're going to take people's boats. They're going to take people's cars. They're going to take your clothes. They got nothing. They're going to take your electric appliances. They'll take anything they can. And they're going to live in the house. They'll take the migrants whose families, you know, a guy joins the gang, they'll let his family live in one of those houses. So they go from poverty to living in a $6 million house with 10,000 square feet and 7 bedrooms and everything like that. You think they're going to clean the house? No. I mean, they might, the place they live in, you know. Do you think they're going to take care of a swimming pool? You think they know what chlorine is with the test kit with the chemicals to balance the pool? They're not going to know. They'll have a lot of trouble trying to figure out how to use the remote controls to make the home theater work, to get the TVs to work, to get they're going to have a lot of trouble. But they're going to like sleeping in these, very expensive handmade beds with fine Egyptian cotton sheets and sitting on the leather furniture, the sofas that cost $50,000, $100,000. They're going to really enjoy that. They'll enjoy drinking their wine cellar, drinking their bar, eating out their refrigerators and their freezers, There's nobody coming. All right, let me check my notes and see what I left out. Because I made myself a lot of notes this morning. I want to make sure I didn't forget anything. Oh, an update on Israel and Gaza. The IDF is telling us 95% of the Gaza rockets are destroyed, 70% of their weapons are destroyed, and 20% of their troop strength remains. So that means they're down to about, it's someplace between 8 and 12,000, let's say 10,000 fighters. So they're defunct. So Israel is rather ready right now to go into Lebanon on the ground and finish them. And Iran's not that worried about it. They're not going to try to engage Israel because they don't want to get destroyed. Israel's stealth jets are not stoppable by Iran. We're going to blow their oil refineries, their oil storage depots, their ports and the piers where they offload the oil onto the ships, and their natural gas pipelines and oil pipelines, and bankrupt them. They're not messing with us. They're afraid of us. They're going to wait till America is too discombobulated to help us, and then they'll go after us. But they lose. Read the Bible. Putin and all of them are waiting for the BRICS currency thing to cause chaos in America and from collapsing their economy. And then when that happens, the sleeper agents will be joining in, and then they'll attack the countries they want to attack. See, America right now is very, very difficult for China and Russia to handle, and it's scaring them. Putin never figured on Iran ever attacking Moscow, having to close airports, conquering Russian land, and stuff like that. Okay, I'm just going through my notes, and then I'm going to do the Bible prophecies with you guys. So if you guys really wanted to be good preppers and survivalists over there, I'm telling you, you'd have a whole bunch of fire extinguishers. I don't know if these sleeper agents would leave you alone if you put the fires out, if they wouldn't just start shooting through the walls and the doors and the windows. I don't know. There's a lot of confusion. I know on October 7th, a lot of confusion, and they run through the place, and people in America are going to be shooting back at them. Some people, for sure, are going to shoot back at them. So they're going to be spooked and in panic, chaotic mode. They may just move on. They may not bother with you. Now, your house will be rather messy from the brief fires, and the fire extinguishers, but you'll have a house for sure. You got to buy a lot of them, though. Bars on the windows help a lot because they can't throw Molotovs and thermal grenades in that easily. Just putting boards on the window, if you know what's going to happen, that would stop it too. Although the Molotovs could burn the boards, but it's very expensive. But if you get these hurricane windows, they stop a 2x4 traveling at 140 miles an hour from breaking the window. So you get that put in with the right frame, they're not going to go kick your window in or throw a Molotov through it or anything like that. It ain't going to work. And then you got to make sure you don't have things by the windows that are going to burn. Now, if you have a lot of bushes by the window, then they can't throw things into your window, but they could burn the bushes. Yeah, it's a challenge, you know? It's a challenge. Okay, the ones that recently joined BRICS is Egypt, and they could close the Suez Canal. Ethiopia, just general nothing with nothing country. Iran and the UAE, they joined. Turkey applied to join, and they're a NATO member, and they have not yet been accepted, but they might be accepted in October. October 22nd to the 24th is the next BRICS summit. And you know, remember, if you think I'm crazy, Trump starting his own digital currency thing at the same time as this. Come on, Trump knows what's going on. Trump has intel. He probably knows 90% of what Biden does. I'm going to take a very fast break, and I'll be back, and we'll go through the Bible scriptures that are highly relevant to back up what I'm saying. A while. I wear sunglasses because I'm in front of the screen many hours a day, and it relaxes my eyes. These are polarized. Isaiah 47. Now I'll put the pieces together. Come down and sit in the dust, virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans were the witches, the astrologers, fortune tellers, demon worshipping people in Babylon. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstone and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, and pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, I will not meet thee as a man. That sure sounds like the poverty that's going to be hitting America to me. Doesn't it to you? Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babel. Babel is the Hebrew word, it's not Babylon. Babel means confusion. So, what it's saying here in the Bible, sit in the dust is mourning. Like someone close to you died. There is no throne. There's no, the country's busted out. O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. All the nice fineries, the stuff's gone. Take the millstone and grind meal. Well, there's a food problem over there. People are trying to grind their own grains. Famine. Uncover thy locks. That means you're exposing your hair, letting your hair down because you gotta work. Make bare the leg. Gotta take your nice dresses off. Uncover the thigh, pass over the river, so all of a sudden they gotta walk through rivers. Why, they don't have cars or something? Electric grid could be down, I don't know. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, that's the day of vengeance. I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, Jehovah of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel, not America. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Well, this BRICS thing is knocking their influence off. They're not running the nations of the world anymore. Get thee into darkness sounds a lot like the grid's down to me. What about you? I was wroth with my people, Israel. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thy hand. There's a lot of Jews in America. Thou didst show them no mercy upon the ancients. Thou verily heavily laid thy yoke. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever. America doesn't think it's ever going to go down. so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasure, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. See, America doesn't think it's going to happen. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee, the loss of the children of the witches, the elite. Shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection. For the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. The music industry, motion picture industry, the governments, the big corporations, all Satan bots running them. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, the witchcraft, and so forth. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. Thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none beside me. That's how America behaves. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. America seems to be ignorant of the sleeper agents. They're keeping the border open still. I don't know. And mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. They ain't going to see it coming. The believers will. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevent it. He's playing with them. It ain't gonna. They're not stopping it. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly procrastinators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as stubble in the fire. They shall be as stubble. Fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. In Jeremiah 50:51, the Lord says, I will kindle fires in or about her cities. Have you seen all the fires in California and Oregon and other countries in the West and Northwest? California's really suffering. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall there be unto thee with whom thou labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save thee. Now, there's a scripture in Jeremiah 50, verse 24, that explains a lot about what the Lord's doing with America. Now, the churches don't teach this, which is no surprise to me. Here it is, Jeremiah 50:24. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon. And thou wast not aware, thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Jehovah. Look what they did to Israel. October 7th was allowed to happen. Biden didn't want Netanyahu coming to Israel. All of a sudden in September, Biden shows up and says, hey, Netanyahu could come here anytime he wants. September 23rd, Netanyahu goes to Israel and meets with Biden. What happens a little more than 2 weeks later? October 7th happens. We normally have many outposts, little towers. They go up about 30 feet usually. They got a roof. They got a little place inside. They got binoculars, communications, Have a few soldiers up there watching the Gaza border. We have sensors on the border that pick up footsteps. We have day-night cameras that are monitored, or supposed to be picking it up. We have trackers that are the Bedouins. The Bedouins are like Apache and Navajo Indian trappers in the 1800s, If they find you at night in the desert, they'll steal your skin before you know what happened. Now, our special forces are just as good as them, but they're pretty deadly in the desert at night. And they join the military and they become trackers. And are they good at it? They're superb at it. Okay? All these countermeasures were not there on October 7th. I lived in Israel many years. I'm sitting in my front yard. As is my norm, I get up about 5 in the morning. I'm an old guy, And I'm out there getting ready for my, broadcast, my live stream. And my phone lights up, which we get red alerts on the phone, and I get them for all of Israel. And the phone's going like a full auto machine gun. Bing, 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 bing. The thing must be broken. The system must have got hacked. They're making us think all Israel's under attack. Well, it goes on. And it's early in the morning, and it's a rabbinical Talmudic holiday, not a Bible holiday. So a lot of people aren't functioning. So it takes about an hour and a half till I start getting on social media, or other people wake up and say, what the heck is going on, And we're under attack, They were launching tons of missiles. They already, came in, or, and they were killing people. Now, the soldiers that were in the towers were calling their command centers and saying, hey, we're getting swarmed. And they were laughing at him. No, you're not. Don't worry, it's not real. Normally, it would have been 7 or 8 minutes, and they would have had vehicles full of soldiers there with 30 caliber machine guns mounted on the top, which is great for personnel, no problem, And they would have had Apache attack helicopters, tanks would have been rolling, all kinds of stuff would have been going on. Nothing. No trackers were tracking them. Nobody was monitoring the cameras, the day-night cameras. The kids in the towers, a lot of them were female soldiers, because that's not really a combat position. And they got raped, captured, killed. Other soldiers got raped, captured, killed. And they swarmed in. They had about 3,000 Hamas come in. They came with paramotor glider things. They came all different ways. And there was thousands of Gazan civilians that came with them. And they were killing Jews. They were raping. They were burning. They were looting. They were taking back hostages. Hamas was paying them $10,000 a hostage. Now, I don't think, should I believe it was a coincidence? All of a sudden, Biden wakes up one day and says, yeah, Netanyahu can come there anytime. Netanyahu goes over there a little more than 2 weeks later. October 7th happens, and 1,000,000 countries said, you know, that Israel was given notice of this. They let it happen. Why? It psyched up Israel to go attack Hamas. Why do they want to attack Hamas? Because they want to provoke a war with Iran. Similar to them provoking a war with Russia or Ukraine, but not exactly. So they use Gaza. And then what happens? Oh, then comes no civilian casualties, even though they're hiding and using the people as a human shield. Humanitarian aid, so we want to make sure that Hamas doesn't run out of food, bottled water, fuel for their generators, cooking fuel. We don't want them running out. And then the American Biden administration is constantly screaming at us to cut back civilian casualties. And they're launching missiles at us like crazy. We had to evacuate the South. I don't know, 50,000 or so people, 100,000, something like that, had to leave and go in hotels at government expense. Now they're back, of course. The hostages are being raped, beaten, starved, dehydrated. Yeah, it's a joke. I mean, it's sad. Okay? Biden sent some special forces down here at the beginning to try to get the hostages. They couldn't do it. They got them stashed in apartments, tunnels, all over the place. The hostages are goners. And they might already be dead. We don't know if they have any hostages left. They won't tell us how many they have. They won't give us names. They won't give us proof of life. How do we know they have any left? We don't. We really don't know. Yeah, Biden gives us weapons in the beginning and we're going gung-ho. And then later on he says, no, we're not giving you the weapons. And it wasn't just the heavy bombs, it was a lot of weapons he held back on. They since released them. What kind of crap was that? When Iran attacked us, a good large amount of those missiles coming at us fell down before they reached Israel. Okay, that's the reality. The other reality is the ones that reached Israel knocked down, okay, almost every one of them. Not all. There was 2, 3, or 4 or something that got through. Jordan knocked some down. America knocked some down. But the amount they knocked down was about 10%. But they did knock some down, that's for sure. Saudi might have knocked some down, I'm not sure. But Jordan did play a role. And America. Now everybody knows that Iran's behind Hamas. They fund them, give them weapons, train them, etc. Now, take Yemen. Yemen joins in. The Houthis in Yemen are attacking shipping all over the world. Does America do anything meaningful about it? No. They have managed, with the help of the UK, to send jets and attack missile launches and radar and stuff like that. So the Houthis have really barely been able to attack any ships anymore, but they still have. They say they're coming up to Israel with boots on the ground to attack Israel. I don't know how that'll work, but okay. So if they run a big convoy of soldiers, we'll just blow it up. You know? American bases in Syria and Iraq get attacked almost 100 times by Iranian-backed militias in Iraq and Syria, plus embassy and consulate, whatever it is in Iraq, gets attacked. Does America do anything meaningful about it? No! And then comes Lebanon, and have they done anything to help us? Yes. They don't seem to care what happens to Lebanon. Why? Because if we kick butt on Hezbollah, then the regular government of Lebanon takes over. We don't, according to their mindset, we don't occupy Lebanon. Biblically, they're wrong. We will. With Gaza, if we take care of Hamas and wipe them out, give them, a good lawn mowing, they are the government, then we take over. So we're moving in. That's the reality. I never hear Netanyahu badmouth Egypt for years. Egypt let smuggling go on into Gaza. I heard they were getting kickbacks. Now, Gaza's tunnel system is probably, we uncovered it to be about 400 miles. They have concrete, I would say about 6 inches thick for flooring and walls and ceiling, and they have concrete pillars that curve to support the concrete. 400 miles of that, you're talking thousands of truckloads of cement. Big trucks. These tunnels were able, you were able to drive big trucks. Tractor trailer, maybe not. 26-foot moving van, probably. Good sized trucks. Maybe tractor trailer. It was a low boy or something. And missiles and missile parts and missile manufacturing things and guns and bullets and this and that all came through Egypt. Did Biden ever once open his mouth about that to Egypt? I never heard it once. Did you? Not a single time. Then Netanyahu, the moron, has us use Egypt as a negotiator with Hamas. For crying out loud, Egypt's a vile enemy. And you think Netanyahu didn't have enough intel to know that Hamas brought in thousands and thousands of truckloads of weapons and concrete tunnel making equipment and supplies? Of course he did. He just didn't take any action against it. That's our fearless leader. How lucky we are. I never heard one church denomination ever say we stand with Israel. There's 3,500 denominations, I believe. I've never heard one say we stand with Israel. I have heard little congregations and little churches or something say they stand with Israel, but I never heard one denomination say they stand with Israel. Never once. Many of these churches don't think the land that God gave us from the Euphrates to the Nile is really our land. They want the Muslim Arab terrorists to own it. So they don't care. America's not very worried what we do to Hezbollah. If we want to go blow Hezbollah to smithereens, go for it. Just cut back on the civilian casualties is what they're basically saying. They're all behind that one. America's done nothing meaningful about the Iraq and Syrian militias attacking their bases constantly. Every week they get attacked. Why? Good question. Now we go to the Houthis attacking the ships, and they did an okay job of knocking out missiles and radar. They got them pretty stymied right now. But, you know, to really take out Yemen, you got to go in with boots on the ground. You're going to need 100,000 guys with air support planes, helicopters, boats, and there'll be casualties. It'll be rough. They got a lot of underground bunkers, underground weapons storage, underground tunnels, mountains, caves. Be very grueling. Take a year. Take a year. So why not just hit Iran and cripple all of them? Well, that's what October 7th was about. Biden wants to provoke Iran to do something that gives him an excuse to take out Iran. Iran is a serious threat. You've got the BRICS threat, and you also, before the BRICS threat became so self-evident, Iran was trying to control the oil-producing countries in the Middle East and get them afraid of Iran and run the prices up and cut the productivity back and spike the oil prices to double or triple the price at the pump and kill the European Union and America and North America and South America economies. That's what they were trying to do. That threat is still there, but the BRICS threat combined with that threat is the real problem for them. It's immense. They're not going to make it. So there's going to be a day in the near future when the BRICS is going to launch their new currency. The demand for the dollar is going to plummet steadily. The economy in America is going to go to crap, very steady and very fast. The Biden administration are a bunch of failures. Blinken, Sullivan, Austin, they're all failures. They all worked with Obama in his administration. When Kamala gave her speech in the debate the other day, my wife very carefully kept replaying it and said that Kamala said, "Oh, Biden," 3 times in the speech. "Oh, Biden." Well, we know what that means. And it's generally a mess. And what's going to happen are the Israelites are going to come to Israel, and the true believers that are in Yeshua HaMashiach that are not Israelites are also going to come with them. And the rest of the people in America are either going to leave and go back to their own country, or America's going down. That's it. Jeremiah 50:51. You can do the ostrich approach and put your head in the ground, but that's what the scriptures say, and it's pretty inescapably America. It says, the great voice. That's America. The hammer of the whole earth. That's America. There's not much time left. So all this fighting you're seeing is just a distraction to keep America discombobulated and confused, and run the military down and spread the military out. And after they hit them with BRICS, then the sleeper agents, then there'll be the invasion, and that's it. Then they'll deal with Israel and their other problems after they get rid of America, but that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is this. I'll go quick. Zechariah 12. This is what the church never teaches you. This is what's happening now. Okay, when you're dealing with Gog and Magog, right away, Ezekiel 38:39, it says Israel's living without bars and walls in peace and safety. Nobody in their right mind is going to say that's the way Israel is today. We're all our nerves are frayed from what's going on. We're all stressed out. We don't know when the next shoe's going to fall. I heard bombs this morning in the distance. Come on. Terrorists running around. We set up a real Operation Watch in my little village, where we got ex-military and ex-police in there. We got assault weapons, the real full-auto assault weapons from the government for these guys, and they got a vehicle or two with a blue light on it. It's a 4x4, desert-capable vehicle, right? It's not a civilian vehicle. We got either one or two of them. And we have gates in the community on the roads, and when there's a terrorist threat, they monitor the gates and only let people they know in. And, or people that could explain why they're here, like a delivery guy or something. And then they have patrols all day and all night. They run around the community. And these guys are quick on the trigger finger, believe me. They've got a 0 crime rate, And we got a very, very low crime rate before the war, extremely low. Youth crimes, vandalism and stuff, nothing. And they've got radios to the military, radios to the police, so helicopters would be here quick, vehicles would be here quick. But they're armed. They're ready to go. Terrorists are going to start coming in here. They're going to counter full auto fire, and reinforcements will be on the way. Helicopters will be in the air. Drones will be coming to look for them. It's not going to be nice for them. Okay, the burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, saith Jehovah, which stretches forth the heavens and layeth the foundations of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I make Jerusalem a cup of trembling. Jehovah does this. A cup of trembling is you're shaking, you're scared, you know? And it's not, the word for cup is mistranslated. It's a basin or I think maybe like a watering trough for horses in Wyatt Earp's day or something like that. A big thing that many people could drink from at the same time. It's not like a teacup. A cup of trembling unto all the people, and that word is people on. It's not heathen. Round about. Oh, they're going to surround us round about. That's not an invasion, that's a siege. And we'll keep reading. When they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. Well, that's the land we have now. Now, is the siege already started? Well, we got Lebanon to the north. They're surrounding us. Like when the Romans would lay siege to a city or a country, they'd surround it. They'd shoot arrows, catapults, try to break in, stuff like that, attack them, right? So they shoot arrows at us in the form of missiles, mortars, drones. You got it? It's a similar thing. Okay. And that's up at the north. We got Lebanon. Down in the south, we got Gaza. Yemen can't really do much. We got Syria and Iraq lobbing missiles at us from time to time. And who has not yet come into the fold is Egypt, Jordan, which is Ammon and Edom. Ammon and Moab. Edom is actually Yemen, by the way. In Jeremiah 49, it refers to Yemen, or Edom rather, as it refers to Edom as Taman, in English T-E-M-A-N. It means south. That's the Hebrew word for Yemen. Yemen's also Sheba. Remember the Queen of Sheba? Okay. It's Edom, all right? And Turkey's going to join in. The land grant in Genesis goes from the Euphrates to the Nile. So what that land includes, I'll tell you, it's about 100 times bigger than the land we have now. It includes, to the west of the Euphrates River, parts of Syria, Iraq, and Turkey. It includes all of Lebanon, all of Jordan. It includes Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Oman, and Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia is going to get busted out. Edom's going to be destroyed. A lot of Jordan is going to be destroyed. Ammon's going to make it, northern Jordan. Ammon is the capital of Jordan, but it used to be its own country. So northern Jordan will make it. Southern Jordan is going to be busted up. Now, in Jeremiah 49, the last 5 or 6 verses, it talks about the destruction of Elam, E-L-A-M. Elam is a country that existed back then, but doesn't exist today. Elam is composed of pieces of Iran, Iraq, and Syria. Sound familiar? So yes, Iran will be destroyed by her enemies in the plural. I should read it to you to do the job right, shouldn't I? Jeremiah 49. It's the last few verses. I don't know, start around 33. Let's see what that takes us. No, further down. Okay. Thus saith Jehovah of hosts. The word hosts means armies. It should be Jehovah of armies. Behold, I will break the bow of Elam. Now, I told you Elam is, what does a bow do? It launches an arrow. A missile launcher is a bow, and a missile is an arrow. This is old times English, old times Hebrew. God wasn't going to reveal to them what a missile is, what a tank is, what this and that, So, but it's quite accurate. The bow of Elam. In other words, they're not going to be able to launch their missiles. It says the chief of their might. What is the strength of Iran? Is it their Navy, their Air Force? No, it's their missile launches. And it includes Iraq and Syria, who are using Iranian missiles to attack American bases, Israel, and so forth. Now I'm in Jeremiah 49:36. And upon Elam will I bring the 4 winds from the 4 quarters of the heaven, and will scatter them towards all those winds, and there shall be no nation whither the outcasts of Elam shall not come. So they're going to destroy Elam, which is Iraq, Syria, and Iran, so much that the people are going to have to leave their country and go into captivity. Now, all three of these countries are attacking Israel, so it's a plural enemies attack, probably Israel and America included, plus others. Verse 37, for I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies, plural enemies, and before them that seek their life. Ooh. And I will bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, saith Jehovah, and I will send the sword after them till I have consumed them. All right, and then he says, I will set my throne in Elam. That doesn't mean he's going to rule from Elam. It means he's going to judge them. He judges by the throne, from the throne. So. Okay, Zechariah 12, we'll go back. So, Iraq, Syria, you know Syria, Damascus shall be a ruinous heap. You know, you know these things kind of. So you're going to see the end of Iran. And I'm sure you're not going to go and mourn for them. You'll see the end of the Iran. Remember, I told you this is what the nations are planning. They don't get what they want. You know who gets what they want? Jehovah gets what he wants. Yeshua gets what they want, which is the same. They both want the same thing. Iran doesn't get it. Neither does Russia, neither does China. It's what Jehovah wants. And they could bark at the moon all they want. It's not going to change anything. The nations are not in control. Jehovah is. Okay, I'm back in Zechariah 12. So we see the people of the earth, or it's Haaretz, it can mean Israel, it can mean the earth, probably the earth, gathered together against it. In that day, saith Jehovah, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness, and I will open my eyes upon the house of Israel. And when you open your eyes, it means he turns his face back towards Israel, and that's a very good thing. Israel could basically slide into home plate when that happens, so to speak. And the governors, it's the judges is really what it's saying. The judges of Judah, that's the land we have now, say in their hearts, now I'm going to be correcting the Hebrew because it's not accurately translated. The inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength. No, it says the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the word is strength. Koyach. It doesn't, it's just the same in Yiddish, koyach. It doesn't say my strength, it says strength. In Jehovah of hosts Elohim. So it's saying the inhabitants of Jerusalem have strength in Jehovah. So there's a revival or an outpouring of something in Jerusalem. Now I'm in verse 6. In that day, this is a one-day thing, probably the day of vengeance. In that day will I make the governors of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire with the sheaf, and they shall devour, it means burn up all the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall remain still in her own place, even in Jerusalem. So who do you know has fire coming out of his mouth? Let's see, the two witnesses perhaps, that's who's burning them up. Who are they? Elijah and Apostle John. Can't be Moses. Moses died. It says it's elected unto man to die only once. Told Elijah, well, with Elijah it says he's going to come, you know. With Apostle John it says you will prophesy again in many countries and stuff like that, and that's unfulfilled. So, moving along to verse 7, I'm giving you just quick crash courses here. Jehovah also shall, if you want to get into more of this in my YouTube channel, that my videos are in the live section, you can learn more about a lot of these subjects. Jehovah also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. In that day, again, the day, shall Jehovah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Amen. And he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. Now, the feeble old people that totter about and stagger and stumble are going to be like David, who killed Goliath, who killed the bear, who killed the lion, who was a great warrior. Something's happening. And the house of David shall be as Elohim, as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. That's the angel that was in the wilderness with Moses and Aaron and the children of Israel, and he killed 150,000 in one day. And that's Michael, the glory of God of Israel. In Exodus 20, verse 23, God put his name Jehovah in this angel so he could receive the offerings for Jehovah and many other things. Because if Jehovah came down to earth, I imagine the earth would burn, melt, crack, blow up, whatever, because he's so holy, something would happen. It wouldn't be too good. And verse 9, and it shall come to pass in that, so that's where the two witnesses are first going to start working pretty openly. And they're going to burn up probably several million people surrounding Israel. It says so in your own Bible. I didn't sneak into your house last night with Santa Claus and write it in. It's always been there. Why the church doesn't teach it, don't blame me. Ask the Lord why they don't teach it. Ask yourself why they don't teach it. It's obvious. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations, if that word is heathen, that come against Jerusalem. They're all going to be destroyed. More on that. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications. Well, that to me, and it should be for you too, would mean that he pours on the inhabitants of Jerusalem and the house of David his spirit. They would be saved believers now, wouldn't they? Of course. He pours his spirit out on Satanists all of a sudden? No. Remember, it says he'll take their sins away in a day. This is the day. And they shall, this is the birth of a nation in a day. Their sins are gone. They're serving Jehovah. The veil came off. This is the birth of the nation in a day, not 1948 when a bunch of schmuck Satanists in the UN did this. Come on. Israel declares independence from nobody. The British left. And then they just changed the name. And then America and the UN, check it out on Google, put an arms embargo in Israel. They were just trying to see Israel get wiped out by the Arabs. Why else would they put an arms embargo on Israel while Russia was supplying the Arab states that were going to attack Israel with weapons? They obviously didn't want to see Israel win. Final solution part 2, but it didn't work. We won. The spirit of grace and the supplications, and they shall look upon me whom they shall look upon me whom they have pierced. They stuck a spear in his side when he was hanging on the tree, and water and blood came out, which could be the beginning of the church, as some teach. Water, the Holy Spirit, blood, communion. It could be that. I don't take issue with that. I don't teach it, but it could be. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only, and they shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. In that day there shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem as the mourning of Hadramon in the valley of Megiddo. Well, when they killed Yeshua about 2,000 years ago, rough cut, they certainly was not mourning all over the place there. It says all the families in Israel will mourn for him. They shall look upon the one whom they have pierced. This is the sign of the Son of Man appearing in the clouds. This is Yeshua appearing in the clouds like the lightning from the east to the west. Here, let's read something. Matthew 24:30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. That's the Hebrew would be Shemaim, in the cloud air, where the airplanes fly. And then shall all the tribes of Haaretz, the land of Israel, mourn. We just read that in Zechariah 12. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. In another place it says he's seated on the right hand of power, which is the Father. Now let's go to Revelation 1:7. And what does it say there? Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, the Israelites, and all kindreds of the earth, all tribes of the land of Israel is what it really means. The Mishpucha, the tribes, the families, shall wail because of him, even so. And then we read that in Zechariah 12. Every eye's going to see him. Now, if you're not a native-born Israelite, and you're a believer in Yeshua, will you have this change when he appears also? Yes. And will you come to Israel in the great Exodus, or stay in America and die? You're obviously going to come to Israel in this great Exodus. Now, what am I talking about when you get changed? Well, they're believers. The Spirit was poured out on them. They see the Son of Man in the clouds, seated on the right hand of power of his Father. And what happens when that happens? John 6:40. And this is the will of him that sent me. This is Father God Jehovah's will. That every one which seeth the Son, like in Zechariah 12, and believeth on him, well, they have the Spirit poured out on them, and they mourn after they see him, so obviously they believe on him. They know who he is. May have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. So they all get, everybody that sees him that's a believer gets everlasting life. Everlasting life is not that you can't die. It's like before the flood, they lived 900 or so years, okay? So you're going to live, because we get a double portion this time, you're going to live more than, you're going to live like it says in the scriptures, my people's days shall be like that of a tree, a child shall die at 100. That explains those scriptures, which you may have been stumped by. Okay, so you still die. When you get in New Jerusalem and you drink the water of life and eat of the tree of life, then you're not going to die, because it says there shall be no death there. But when you get into New Jerusalem, if you're in the church, let's say, and you're not in Yeshua, or you're not in Israel, what is, how are you going to get into New Jerusalem? Well, we need to read something about New Jerusalem for you to understand this, don't we? Revelation 21:12, speaking of New Jerusalem. And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels. So New Jerusalem has 12 gates, each one guarded by an angel. And names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. So each of the 12 gates has the name of one of the tribes in Israel. How the heck are you going to get in if you're not Israelite born? I'll answer it. Ezekiel 47, verse 21. This takes place after the two witnesses burn the enemies up on the right hand and the left hand, and we get our land back. Ezekiel 47:21. So shall you divide this land unto you according to the tribes of Israel. And it shall come to pass that you shall divide it by lot for an inheritance unto you and to the strangers that sojourn among you. The strangers are the non-Israelites that are believers in Israel, in Yeshua, which have begot children among you, and they shall be unto you as born in the country among the children of Israel. They shall have inheritance with you among the tribes of Israel, and it shall come to pass that in what tribe the stranger sojourneth, that means travel with and hang out with, there shall you give him his inheritance, saith Jehovah. So the non-Israelites that are believers in Yeshua will go to Israel in the second Exodus, stopping in the wilderness. Read Ezekiel chapter 20, starting in verse 33 to the end. Read Jeremiah 16 and Jeremiah 23, and you get a better picture of that. And they get incorporated into the tribe of Israel they travel and hung out with over here, and they get a piece of land with that tribe, an equal fair share of the land, and they become members of that tribe, them and their kids and grandkids and great-grandkids and so forth. And now you know what gate you'll walk into in New Jerusalem. I wonder why the church never teaches that. Well, I gave you a good assortment of things. I can't keep doing this for 8 or 10 hours. I'm too old for that. Okay, let me see what's going on in the live stream, the chat. Maybe we have some good questions. I always like a good question. All right, let's see. Somebody's saying coward. I don't know who they're calling a coward. Remember, it says in Revelation 11, all of Israel shall be saved. Well, I just opened that up to you, didn't I? You are part of Israel. That's why Yeshua calls you his brethren. The word witness also means martyr, correct. It actually more correctly means martyr, but the two witnesses in Revelation 11 are also referred to as prophets. Well, I'm having trouble with the chat. It's not operating for me too good. Let's see. Well, so much for the chat. Okay, guys, if you want more about this and you want to hear what's going on in the Middle East, I don't spend a lot of time and energy on Ukraine and Russia, and I don't spend a lot of time and energy on Asia and Pacific. I spend a lot of time and energy on America, Israel, and the Middle East. If you want to get good breaking news when the stuff happens, I get a lot out of Arab and Hebrew social media and publications in Israel, and you'll get a lot of news early from me, so you might want to subscribe. Please hit the like button. It'll take you 2 seconds, and I appreciate if you guys would pray for me and my wife Rivka for our peace, safety, joy, healing, finances. Pray that we stay out of the bomb shelters, and pray for our rescued dogs and birds, that they be happy, healthy, and whole, and pray for better videos, and pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I guess I'll see some of you soon enough here in Israel, and we could break falafel together. What's falafel? It's pita bread filled with chickpea balls fried in oil, put in there with salad, French fries, pickles, fried eggplant, millions of different things. That's the national street food in Israel. It's not bad. It's not bad. So we would say break bread together or break falafel together. I told somebody, one of my subscribers the other day was talking to me on the internet, and I said, okay, we'll break falafel sooner. We'll break falafel here in the land soon. He said, what? What are you kidding? What are you saying? And I said, you don't know what falafel? He says, oh gosh, yes, falafel. I got it. He was laughing, you know. I don't eat falafel that much. Me and my wife don't make it too often, but it's sold all over the streets. It's all over the place, and people love it. And you'll love it too after you eat it 25 or 30 times. You're not going to love it that much. It's like a hot dog. You know, the first time, hey, the hot dog is great. You eat it 25 of them, you know, over the next 2 or 3 months. You're not yearning for hot dogs all the time. It's sort of like that, you know. It's a junk food, you know. How often do they change the oil? They fry the chickpea balls in. See what I'm saying? All right. So pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. I hope you got something out of this. I don't know. I was on over 3 hours. Wow, that's a long time. Okay, kids, I'm out. Thank you.